What? Infinity Stones?
We actually got a lot of those. Yeah, some of the guys use them as paperweights.
Done!
Renegade Online. Oh man, I was really debating whether or not I wanted to do this video having watched Loki yesterday morning. And yeah. There's been a number of videos already that's come out on this, and I realized that. And you've probably watched a lot of those, so I appreciate you being here watching this one to get my thoughts on this show. The intro kind of summed it up for me. Let me talk about some of the stuff I did like first, and then we'll get into the stuff that I didn't. And unfortunately, there's a lot more to that than what I did like. I went into the show with high hopes, at least when the show was announced. Of course, over the last few months, as news started emerging about what we could expect for the show, for the character of Loki in particular, started to get a little bit discouraged. It seemed like, Tom Hiddleston was only going to be around for the first few episodes, and then he's largely going to disappear and was going to be replaced with the female version of Loki. Of course, Loki is a shapeshifter, but I guess now we've taken to calling Loki, according to Marvel on Twitter, gender fluid. I'm not going on that tangent. So anyway, Hiddleston himself, is always been one of my favorite Marvel characters, one of my favorite actors. I love the guy. So that was one of the big reasons I watched it, and apparently a lot of you did too. Samba TV reported, who tracks online streaming stuff and movies and TV shows that go through streaming services. Samba TV released, I think, a tweet today or yesterday showing that about 890,000 U.S. households tuned in to Loki. And the way Samba measures this is that if they consider anytime somebody turns on a show and watches more than 5 seconds of it, that's considered a view. So it's a rather low threshold. It doesn't really indicate that somebody watched the show all the way through. It doesn't indicate, obviously, audience reaction. It just shows that this is what people clicked on, right? So it's a metric. It's out there. It's been used before, and I think it's at least a good baseline to go by. So very, very good viewership for Disney Plus for Loki. There's no doubt. My question comes in: what happens after week 1? So back to Hiddleston. Hiddleston did, a great job as Loki, although I will say I didn't feel like it was his best performance as Loki. And I think some of that had to do with the script and the story itself. It really didn't allow for him to be Loki so much because he immediately gets captured in the very beginning of the episode by... discount Leslie Jones. How about that? And that was the first impression I had when I saw this character. And he gets hauled in, and I'm not going to go through spoilers. I really don't care. You got the clip at the beginning, and that was the big thing. We also had Owen Wilson in there. Owen Wilson, I think, did a good job as Mobius. He's always kind of a fun actor if you put him in the right role, and I think the two of them together were probably the best part of this episode. The problem is the rest of the episode really seemed to suck the life not only out of the episode, but out of the whole series for me, and potentially everything coming forward from Marvel, because we've already gotten so much discouragement. But this is the bottom line. This is not going to be a long video today, guys, because I really don't have much to say about this, because quite frankly, I don't think I'm going to be watching any more of it. I think this was a one and done for me. I saw the first episode. The whole sequence that I showed at the beginning of this video with the Infinity Stones in a drawer, and the guy says that, oh yeah, some of the people in the office use them as paperweights. That to me was awful. Just awful. And yeah, I've heard people make comments about they have to set it up because now everything's about to get so much bigger, and the Infinity Stones are just, nothing now. And I was like, yeah, I get what they were trying to do. I just didn't like it, and I thought it was an incredibly poor taste. Let me tell you why. Because I feel like I've seen this before. And in fact, I know I've seen this before. There is this thing now in Hollywood where writing has gotten so mechanical and so frankly lazy, that every time they feel like, let's squeeze a few more dollars out of a franchise, or let's try to make a new Phase 4, in this case with Marvel, they've written themselves in a corner. You had a grand epic with the Infinity Saga. For the last 13 years, you've gotten audiences around the world en masse to get emotionally invested into that franchise. And it was a great franchise. I've loved it. I was a huge fan of that entire 13 years of Marvel. A couple of exceptions here and there that, I just were kind of blah for me, but overall, I thought it was excellent. The character development, the sacrifice of people like Tony Stark in Endgame, and just loved every bit of it, and all of it was rendered moot in a 5-second joke, making the Infinity Stones a punchline. No, it's not okay. It's just not. The writing is lazy. The writing is very lazy, because you don't know where else to go at this point, do you? You have to try to make the world bigger and expand the universe. So the only thing you know how to do, apparently, is to trash everything that came before it. To literally pick it up and throw it in the garbage can and just tell the audiences, you know what? Never mind. We were joking. None of that mattered. We now have, the TVA, which controls every aspect of life, makes all the decisions for you. Everything's pre-planned or whatever. And I know this came from the comic books back in the 80s. Not a fan of it there either. It's a writing trap when you start using multiverses and time travel and all this kind of stuff. And now you basically have a God agency. So your excuses get real thin, and you kind of write yourself into a corner with this, because now the question is going to become, well, if something goes wrong, why don't these people just show up? And we kind of had the same thing with the Internals trailer. It's like, where were y'all when Thanos was snapping everybody out of existence? I just don't think they know where to go with this. But it occurred to me in that moment that I have seen this before from Disney, and apparently they are using this now for everything that they want to reimagine. Did we not see this before?
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Well, now that apparently holds true at Marvel, just as it did in Lucasfilm Star Wars. When the pitiful writing of the Star Wars Sequel Trilogy and the mess they made of that, they didn't know where to go. They didn't want to use George Lucas's treatments and outlines for the Sequel Trilogy. They threw those out, came up with their own, and the writers just said, you know what? Let's just go ahead and throw the entire original Star Wars trilogy in the garbage. And just tell audiences that was all useless and worthless, and all of their emotional investment in that, no big deal, because now here's Rey! And basically just completely trash the characters. Well, now we're getting that with Marvel. That's now, they've taken the Star Wars blueprint for the sequel trilogies, and they have now put it into Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let the past die, kill it if you have to. That's what they did with the Infinity Stones. They basically took the entire Star Wars sequel trilogy, implanted it into the MCU, and condensed it down into one 10-second sequence. The Infinity Stones in a drawer, and the guys in the office use them as paperweights. They're just jokes now. Maybe if you'd shown them a little bit more respect, if you'd had Loki pick up the Tesseract and Owen Wilson take it from him and go, you know what? Let me show you something. He walks him down a hallway, brings him to a vault, and opens the door of this giant vault, Harry Potter style, and behind it are 100 Infinity Stones in there. And Hiddleston's face just gets, what am I looking at? And he says, you know what? These things are very dangerous outside of here. That's why we keep them locked up. We keep them safe. Just do something like that. You get my point? Don't treat him as a joke. Don't treat him as a punchline. Because you've just completely trashed the entire 13 years that came up before this. And it's just, I'm done with it. It's lazy writing. Like I said, I've seen this before from Disney. I'm not into it anymore. I've lost whatever little interest I had in this show, the moment before I watched it. It's kind of going now for me. So that's it, guys. That's it. I'm done with Loki. The future of Marvel, as I said before a few weeks ago in a video, a very popular video for me at least, Marvel is dead. You can go back and look that one up. And it seems like every time I turn something on, they keep confirming that for me. So I hope that's not the case. I hope they fix this. I hope they go back and change some things around. I hope they don't turn Doctor Strange into a piece of garbage, since they already decided to eliminate him from WandaVision. Falcon and the Winter Soldier wasn't anything great. Marvel, you 0 for 3 right now. 0 for 3 on these Disney Plus shows, and I got a feeling Black Widow is going to give you a lot of problems at the box office. And Shang-Chi and the Eternals. You're losing the audience you spent 13 years building. Do better.